Let's talk about why I love Samsung Display's QD-OLED technology so much. 1. Screen uniformity is better than any WRGB OLED television I've reviewed to date. When examined using full-field grace lights, my Samsung S95B QD-OLED retail sample did not exhibit any bending, dirty screen effect or color tinting at all, not even from an angle, unlike recent deuterium-based WRGB OLED panels which manifest an obvious pink tint off-axis. And dark uniformity was the best I've seen from any OLED television, with less vertical streaks or vignetting than your usual WRGB OLED TV. 2. Because of QD-OLED's true RGB subpixel structure, it's able to maintain color saturation at high brightness without suffering from white subpixel dilution effect that tends to affect WRGB OLED televisions. It's no wonder that the Samsung S95B QD-OLED has won universal praise from owners and YouTubers alike, thanks largely to its pristine uniformity and vibrant colors. But after measuring and comparing the S95B against a dual-layer LCD reference monitor, I've discovered how the television has been designed to bamboozle consumers. Let me show you. First, we're going to measure the HDR luminance tracking of the S95B in filmmaker mode, using the industry standard window size of 10%. The yellow line is the reference target, namely the luminance level that should be output by the television in response to the video signal. The gray line which is being plotted is what the S95B has been measured to be outputting. As you can see, the HDR luminance tracking of the Samsung S95B seemed pretty good out of the box, closely matching the target in HDR filmmaker mode. But when I watched some HDR movies on the Samsung S95B in HDR filmmaker mode, the APL or average picture level clearly looked brighter than the dual-layer LCD reference monitor, which is fully capable of 1000 nits full screen. So what's going on here? Curious, I changed my window patch size to 9% and remeasured the S95B's HDR luminance tracking, otherwise known as PQ-EOTF or Perceptual Quantization Electro-Optical Transfer Function. And bingo! The measured light output was clearly brighter than the reference target, almost throughout the entire luminance range. I measured many other window sizes and found that the Samsung S95B would track accurately if I used a window patch size of 5%, 10% and L20, namely window sizes that are most likely to be used by reviewers, calibrators and certification bodies. All other window sizes would result in an over-brightened PQ-EOTF tracking, which is more representative of the Samsung S95B's brighter-than-reference HDR presentation in real life. The S95B behaved similarly when it came to HDR color saturation. When measured using a 10% window, which is the industry standard for HDR calibration, color saturation tracking on my S95B retail unit was very good, with no measured color inaccuracy exceeding the humanly perceptible threshold of delta error 3. However, once I switched to a 9% window size for measurement, color errors increased substantially, probably because the television was no longer detecting a correct window size, and therefore snapped out of its accurate measurement mode. I have measured discrepancies at different window sizes on Samsung's LED LCDs before, but I have always attributed it to dynamic backlight control and local dimming. Yet now I'm still encountering it on a self-emissive OLED. So how does this affect real-world HDR content? I'm going to use a couple of scenes from the 4K Blu-ray of The Dark Knight. Some YouTubers claim that the Samsung S95B rendered the yellow on the helipad circle with more pop than the LG C1. But if we analyze the 4K Blu-ray source using the out-of-gamut function on my Canon reference monitor, so that anything outside Rec 709 will be painted red, but anything inside Rec 709 will be monochrome, you can see that no part of the helipad circle actually exceeded Rec 709. And if we switch off the out-of-gamut function and turn on the pixel value checker on my Canon reference monitor, hopefully it is clear to you that no part of the circle is brighter than 150 nits. A yellow color within Rec 709 and under 150 nits is absolutely within the capabilities of any modern television these days. And when compared against a dual-layer LCD reference monitor, The yellow on the C1 looked closer to reference, whereas the Samsung S95B was simply boosting the yellow luminance in an inaccurate manner, making people wrongly assume that this is because of QD-OLED's wider color gamut. In this other scene, some people thought that the Samsung S95B QD-OLED depicted the wood on the table in a pure brown color that couldn't be reproduced by the LG C1. But when analyzed using the out-of-gamut function on my Canon reference monitor, the whole piece of wood on the table was monochrome, meaning that its color was entirely within Rec. 709, which is further confirmed by the pixel value checker that showed none of it exceeded 120 nits. So what they were seeing was just inaccurate color boosting by the Samsung S95B, mistaken as purer colors. In game mode, the in-content boosting was even worse, with the Samsung S95B rigging the brightness and saturation even more to make HDR games pop at the expense of accuracy. In other words, most of the superlatives on YouTube praising the S95B's higher brightness and more vibrant colors has more to do with the manipulative EOTF and color processing implemented by Samsung Electronics, rather than the true potential of QD-OLED technology. A calibrator recommended dropping the ST2084 slider to -3 and increasing the shadow detail setting to 2, which made the EOTF track closer to reference, but it's still an S-shaped gamma at the end of the day, with boosted highlights and crushed shadows to give more artificial pop that deviates from the creative intent. Furthermore, an ST2084 value of -3 would affect the HDR color tracking too, worsening the oversaturation effect. Now, some of you won't care. You don't really care if the picture on the Samsung S95B is inaccurate, as long as it looks better than ever before to your eyes. And I respect that. It's your television and your own subjective preference after all. And almost everyone who doesn't know what an accurate picture looks like will certainly be wowed by the Samsung S95B's shock and awe approach. It's like QLED on steroids, boosting brightness and colors, but now with true blacks and insanely high contrast to boot. But as someone who strives for image accuracy all my HDTV test life, this is a video I absolutely have to make, with flame-proof jacket on, to say that standards matter, accuracy matters. Directors, cinematographers, colorists spend hours, days, weeks, months, even years sculpting a specific look for a movie, and here we have the Samsung S95B just butchering the artistic intent, cranking up the brightness and colors to impress consumers who don't know any better. It's like turning Mona Lisa into Mona Lisa. In this scene from Blade Runner 2049, your eyes may be drawn however slightly towards the exaggerated neon signs on the S95B, diverting your attention from the actor and actress. Before showing you the next example, I would like to thank Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Since the pandemic started, some streaming providers, including Netflix, have throttled the bitrate of certain shows, especially in Europe, resulting in a softer picture with more compression artifacts. This is where a VPN comes in. Surfshark allows you to stream content from another country without needing you to be physically there, so you can watch Netflix at higher bit rates with better picture quality. You can also get more content that is not available in your region, perhaps the US Netflix library, which contains more movie titles. For less than the price of a Big Mac per month, you can use Surfshark on as many devices as you want in your household, all at the same time. There's 24/7 live customer support, a 30-day money-back guarantee, and if you use promo code HDTVTest, you will get 83% off and 3 extra months free. So sign up today and give Surfshark a try. I will put the link in the YouTube description below. Thanks again for your support. Okay, in this sequence from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the red car was so vibrant on the S95B, it unintentionally became the focus of the frame. And if the content was originally graded very aggressively to push the boundaries, the additional boosting done by the Samsung S95B would just make the HDR presentation unrealistic with potential clipping. Because I also have other overdue YouTube videos to film and edit, it will take me a few weeks to explore how much calibration can help rectify these inaccuracies. But my first impression is that the Samsung S95B is never going to be as accurate as an LG, Panasonic, or Sony OLED. Now, I know Samsung didn't become the #1 TV brand in the world by delivering accurate pictures, but my concern is that what the company is doing seems to be violating the spirit of filmmaker mode, whose goal is to preserve creative intent. Especially considering the test pattern window size detection algorithm on the S95B. Some S95B owners will be using HDR filmmaker mode and thinking they are seeing an accurate picture that represents the creative intent. But the truth is, they are not. Far from it. This is also the reason why I'm very unhappy that dynamic tone mapping is enabled by default in the HDR filmmaker mode on LG OLED televisions. And I've been lobbying them for a few years now to either disable it out of the box or improve it so that it doesn't lift the shadows and midtones unnecessarily. Before wrapping up this video, I want to make a distinction between Samsung Display and Samsung Visual Display Division. Samsung Display is the QD-OLED panel manufacturer, and they are faultless in this controversy, having delivered what they promised at CES: a peak brightness of 1500 nits, a Rec 2020 color gamut coverage of 90%, superior viewing angles that preserve color fidelity off axis, as well as high color luminance thanks to QD-OLED's true RGB subpixel configuration. In fact, I've discovered a hidden advantage of QD-OLED technology not advertised by Samsung Display, and you can find out what it is by watching my explanation video here.